Hi class, it's Miss Miller, and today what I'd like to do is continue our discussion on the different persuasive strategies and rhetorical techniques that writers use to persuade someone or convince someone to accept their claim. So we're going to move beyond our discussion on ethos, and today we want to talk to you about appeal to our sense of logic or logos. Appeal to logos, or appealing to a person's sense of logic, is perhaps the most direct approach you can take. And many cases, you will want to include appeal to logic as much as possible. However, writers or speakers like ourselves want to use a combination of appeals. We want to include appeal to ethos, logos, and pathos in our work to persuade a person to side with us. So the objective for the lesson is that you're going to be able to create and design both a visual and a written response that appeals to a person's sense of logic or reason by discussing the effects their persuasive strategy has on a particular work, collaborating on the possible logical fallacies, and presenting the development of the facts and details. So I want to start with the beliefs versus assumptions. And so if we go back to the rhetorical triangle and we look at the speaker, the audience, and the subject, I want us to always think about that. The speaker wants to decide ahead of time what the intended beliefs of the audience is. And they use that belief to build a bridge between themselves and the audience to help get them to side with their claim. Now, the assumption the audience to accept their beliefs without question. Now I want to talk to you about what appeal to logos is not, and this is what we talked about in class the other day, which would be logical fallacies. These are all the ways or errors in our thinking. So this is where I would like for you to press pause and sort of capture 10 of the most significant logical fallacies or errors that speakers use. And they don't do this necessarily deliberately, but they may try to appeal to our sense of logic and mistakenly apply one of these fallacies. So go ahead and press pause and record this information as much as you can. At least the ones that you did not as a group worked on. Now, let's talk about what logos really is. And it's an appeal to a person's sense of reason. It's an appeal to our rational ideas, making logical sense. So a person or a speaker may feel, you know, if I just make sense, if I provide you with specific details and examples and facts and statistical data, expert opinion, then I'm appealing to your sense of logic. We do this when we write essays, and every time you're asked to present a specific example, you're appealing to a sense of logic. You want to include that, and then you sort of embed pathos and ethos in your work. But logic is typically always there. In an expository response, in an argumentative response, in an analysis, people are always asked, the speaker is always asked to present some sort of information or examples in a logical appeal. The counter argument is where the speaker thinks about their claim, what it is that they want to persuade the audience of, and they think, what would someone in that audience who might oppose my position be saying to themselves right now? And so what the speaker does, very much like in a persuasive response and an argumentative response, is they acknowledge the other side. And they do that before the opposing side can do that. So when the speaker acknowledges the counter argument, the opposing viewpoint, that is called concede or concession. But however, they go back after conceding and they refute or they overcome that objection. And so a lot of times people might think, or a speaker in this case might say, my gosh, if I go ahead and tell the weakness perhaps in my own argument, that might in fact weaken my overall claim, and it doesn't. What it does is it reveals a careful examination of your argument. So essentially, not only do you need to be able to construct a response that includes appeal to logic, but you also need to be able to read different works and evaluate evidence for yourself to determine, one, is this evidence or appeal to logic, is it reliable? Is this something that I can trust? Is it timely? So of course, if you're looking at research, when was it done? Right? Is it within the last 3 years or 5 or 10? So is it timely? Is it adequate? So then you want to perhaps even go back to the logical fallacies and make sure that what you are saying does not fit in the logical fallacy, or what you're reading isn't one, right? To make sure that it is the correct type of evidence, and is it open to interpretation? Because then if it is, then it might also be a problem. Okay, so that simply wraps it up. Appeal, again, to logic is just appealing to a person's sense of reason and providing plenty of examples and data and statistics, and we do this all the time. But now I wanted to put it in the context of a persuasive strategy, and when you use logos combined with ethos and pathos, it stands for a very strong persuasive position.